Pat Murphy is the editor of San Francisco Sentinal.com. He's a 37-year resident of San Francisco and worked at the Berkeley Gazette and the San Francisco Chronicle. And his San Francisco Sentinal.com will celebrate its 6th anniversary very soon. Welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you, sir.
You know, there was a magazine that I remember as a child that called Life magazine.
Sure.
And it was really, it was all photographs. It was, it told the story of the week that had just passed and people's lives, not with words except for some captions, but with pictures. That's sort of what you're doing at your website. You let a lot of the photographs tell the story and bring people forward that most people don't see.
Right. We've used a lot of photographs since I started 6 years ago, but particularly in the last 5 months since I've taken a business partner who's professional photographer, probably the best in San
Very
Francisco.
good pictures.
People love that. I mean, particularly we've grown from trying to present stories and the lives of people that are like below the radar that even regional or neighborhood papers cover. So they love to read about themselves and they love seeing themselves. So we're glad to have all the photos we can get.
Like, for example, you're doing a kind of a story about community policing and so on. And so I will get into some of my concerns about this, but for the most part, you're seeing politicians interacting with real people. You know, now they may be staging it, and that rightly or wrongly, but the fact is, at least you're seeing that side of government that is the real side, which is people interacting one way or another. We just get into so much ideology in San Francisco.
Well, what's your question?
I want to know if you agree or disagree. Do
So
you
we
think
get so
that
much
we're just
ideology?
soaked in so much political conflict and ideology that the people part of politics is what's missing, which
Oh,
is
sure.
what you and San
Sure.
Francisco Sentinel.com does?
Well, I think, can you use 4-letter words here?
No.
No, okay. Well, I think BS is endemic to elected officialdom in terms of spinning, in terms of framing, and not in terms of just saying the truth. That's really the core of what the Sentinel wants to do, is cut through that. I think most people can accept anything. If you're straight with them, if you tell them the truth, if you own your mistakes and say we're taking the best with what we learned from our mistakes and going forward.
Well, but that is my only concern about your site, is that I see these pictures of supervisors and certainly our mayor constantly in the most favorable light, almost as if professionals have set up a photo op. You know, I mean, it may be the tribute to your very, very talented photographer, but do you think that your pictures capture what you just said is your main gripe with politics, which is the phoniness, the surfaceness, the glitz, what looks good rather than what is real? Isn't there a danger with that with photographs, especially when they're almost professional the way they do it?
Well, sure, there's a danger with that, and I suppose any medium has the ability to do that if they wish to. There are a lot of different components to how we publish. A lot of times we'll do separate opinion pieces that Luke and I generate. Community people are more than welcome to say in any fashion or form that to cut through the BS from their perspective. We've run a permanent page for the Republican Party. I believe you're a Republican.
I am.
Democrats, Greens. In terms of the news coverage, less and less do I permit myself to inject opinion into it. The people that we focus on in terms of how we choose what stories to write, what pictures to take care of, is usually based on what is prominent in terms of the news for that day. Now, how they're portrayed.
Holding babies.
Holding babies, well, I think we have a lot of critical stories. I think we have a lot of stories that within each story cuts to the guts or cuts to the buyer beware about this particular thing. You know, I've always thought the power of the press was overrated. I think the only thing that we can do, or that you can do, is to frame what people think about during the period they watch this 15-minute segment, or during the period that they read a story that I write. After that, they're completely on their own, and San Francisco is still a town where just everybody gets so upset and takes so much as important what they read somewhere. And it's always just going to be that one writers, that one producers, that one, what do you call yourself?
Host.
That's a nice name. Host perspective. You know, what you bring to it that day with your prejudice, with your ignorance, what you know, with your insightfulness. And there are other things that are involved, like time limits. I mean, how quickly can you devote to research? How much time can you devote to it? It's just, it's almost like you have to work in the media for a while before you understand it.
Let's go into that a little more. I want to know more about it. Are you saying that you think that the media is overrated in its power to form opinion?
Yes, I've always thought that.
So where are San Franciscans getting their perspective and their viewpoints, and how do they come to conclusions? For example, the popularity of the mayor is 89%. And yet, you've written certain articles. That's one of the gripes I have with your site, that you wrote an excellent piece, you personally.
I don't have any gripes with your show.
I can't find articles. I was looking for an article you wrote about corruption or ineptness of the city government. It was an excellent article.
It'll be back up.
You need to do a better archives, because I wanted that article.
We just started that today. We launched a brand new website today that does archive.
Good. Well, I wanted that. That article was one of the best, and we've been doing this program. We've been bringing people on this program that highlighted that kind of ineptness and complete lack of control of the city. And yet you have a mayor that's rated 89%, and everywhere you turn, you see signs that no one's in control of the city, which was, I thought, the core of your article.
Well, not everywhere I turn. It may be everywhere you turn, but that's not the way I see it.
So you disagree?
Well, I disagree that you started out questioning if the media doesn't enable his 89% approval rating.
Well, you thought I was implying that.
Where does it come from?
Where does it come from?
Well, I think, like most people living today, they get their information from an awful lot of sources, but mostly they get it visually from hearing neighbors, talking to people. I mean, he first started to really make grounds with the gay marriage thing. And a lot of gay people in San Francisco, a lot of people who aren't gay know a lot of gay people. And think about it, you know, and thought about that issue and what a historic thing it was. And you know, he stood up to the Democratic Party. What he really drove home with that wasn't primarily the focus on the rightness of being able to marry, but on how much it could not be disproven that Gavin Newsom acted on the basis of his own principle, of his own truth.
Could it be also, though, that he was acting on the strategy of some very smart officials that have come out of the Clinton administration that said that one way to diffuse the normal negative energy that comes out of the left when you are coming from the right is to take an issue, even if you believe in it, but ride that issue and then neutralize your opposition?
Well, I have no doubt that he has access to some of the best, stealthiest, and the lowest hitting creative political people in the country. I've gotten to know a number of them on the local level. Many of them came from the national level.
That's right.
And I've watched a lot of the personal interaction. I haven't heard it hinted. I haven't seen it vibed, much less said that there was this plan.
So you don't think? So you think it was pure conviction here, and therefore the image that you have is the actual truth.
No, I wouldn't go that far. I would say that I'm convinced only that Gavin would not have done that if he did not hold that principle.
No, I'm not disagreeing with that, by the way. No, I'm saying it's both, and that's the problem. Is there's too much either or in politics, and never a lot of both, which is that both sides can be right if you find the right in place, you know. But in San Francisco,
there's 27 sides.
But in San Francisco, what media is being critical of City Hall? It seems like almost all of the media normally, after this point, would be attacking the board, or attacking members of the board, or attacking the mayor's office. There is no critical press.
Donkey Pucky, Arthur.
Is there a critical press? Where do you see that?
Have you ever heard of the Bay Guardian? I mean, they can't.
Do you think
write,
the Bay Guardian
They can't get two sentences together without being critical of somebody.
Haven't they lost their influence, though, for the most part?
Well, not with their true believers, you know. They've got
But
their
editorials
and
in their news section has disappeared into a batch of sexual ads. I mean, there's only a little bit of news at the beginning.
Well, let's go back to your premise here. Why isn't there?
Where is the critical press?
Where is the critical press? God, everybody's critical. I mean, it used to be we were supposed to be the low hitters, and we're pretty tame to most of.
That's true.
Most of the ad. Well, you have to start with what is the media. Is it a Pat Murphy who puts a computer on his good? Is it a guy with a flyer? Is it? I mean, what is the media?
Well, let's try
people who get the most readership, probably.
Chronicle, the Examiner, SF Weekly, the Bay Guardian, now San Francisco Sentinel.com. I don't see the critique of programs and the condition of the city, the filth in the city, the lack of a true homeless program,
Honey,
which was highlighted by MTV.
Honey.
Hold on, MTV's reporter did 20 minutes. He went down the street with a tape recorder.
MTV.
Yeah, and
you and I are too old to watch MTV.
And nationally, on national television, showed what he encountered as he went down the street did more to destroy the so-called homeless plan of Mayor Gavin Newsom than anything that could have been done in the local media. That is the truth about what's really going on here.
There's the truth. Oh, you're one of those people who wants to.
I'd like to
to touch and feel
I'd
the
like
truth.
to see. I'd like to see more from the media than just doing advertising or what is socially acceptable.
Well, I started with Honey. Honey, you just said a few minutes ago that you found a good piece of criticism on the Sentinel. There were several good. I think pieces. You're talking about.
I did. Of course, I couldn't find it on your site because you didn't have an archive of it at that time.
Well, that's in the past.
Good.
We have it today. San Francisco
And you look up the article that Pat Murphy wrote about. That was about the health system.
It's not loaded yet.
Was it about the health system?
Two of us. We had to clean the fax machine. Yes, there's a good critique of the health system in San Francisco. I wrote that one.
Right, and everyone should read that.
And in San Mateo County also. We'll be having all of that material up there, but we're having to do it manually.
Where's the city going, you see? What's the future
Where's
of San
the
Francisco?
city?
Where's the future
well,
of San
first
Francisco?
of all, I think it's always been a joyous town. I think that it's gotten into a Jimmy Carter type of malaise because everybody feels kind of isolated. But I think the real magic of it started in the Gavin Newsom camp, whether you think it was contrived or not. But the mechanism of creating a vehicle where everybody can get involved to help with a particular program. Now that concept started with Project Connect, where volunteers could be triaged and everybody could come in and do all kinds of things. And that's spreading to the parks thing. The whole City Safe program that's going to bring in all the community-based, everybody from bleeding heart to root cause sociologists to hard-nosed, fed-up hardliners, perhaps even Republicans, who knows, to get involved with bring everything we've got to bear on violent activity, whether it's kiss their bottom, take them to a condo, all the way up to locking them up in federal penitentiary.
Well,
all of that's going to be brought together.
I think that eventually,
and I think that
eventually you might have to see that after all this is said and done, that's where we're headed. Pat Murphy, thank you for being on the program. I'm going to have you back.
This is my 15 minutes of fame.
Yes.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. For program schedules, post-production notes, and free streaming video of select interviews, visit our website at www.sfunscripted.com.